Hello and welcome. You're watching the Sunday edition of This Is Exclusive. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we put our special focus on India's biggest military drill that is underway. And what exactly has really pushed the Pakistanis to come up with a very similar exercise that has been doing the rounds along this creek. Is there a strong messaging that's really happening? What's the significance of the drills that are going to take place over the next few days? And what's the true spirit of Jai? All this and much more on this edition of This Is Exclusive. But first, let me take you through the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Indian Army forces display their might during exercise Trishul. Pakistan issues a naval warning as India begins the tri-services exercise near Creek. Indian Army's Sapta Shakti Command conducts a major integrated first and maneuver exercise, Sentinel Strike, at the Mahajan Field firing ranges in Rajasthan's Thar Desert.
Motors ignited, plus 5 seconds.
We have a magnificent liftoff, the LVM-3M5 CMS-03 mission in the air. The simultaneous thrusting of the twin S200 motors is indeed a sight to behold.
ISRO launches heaviest communication satellite CMS-03 from Sri Harikota, a big boost for the Indian Navy.
Yet another important glory to India. The CMS-03 is the heaviest satellite launched by the LVM-3 to the GQ orbit so far.
In the sun-scorched sands of Gujarat's Kutch region, where the Arabian Sea meets the contested borders, India's armed forces are forging a blade of unbreakable unity. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Trishul. The Trident, a colossal tri-services war exercise that has mobilized over 30,000 soldiers from the Indian Army, Air Force and the Indian Navy. Launched today and set to thunder through until the 10th. It stands as the largest joint operation of its kind since the Operation Sindoor, a testament to India's evolving doctrine of seamless multi-domain warfare. Ladies and gentlemen, at the heart of Trishul beats the pulse of Sir Creek, a volatile 96-kilometer maritime frontier laced with 36 kilometers of disputed marshland where Pakistan's recent encroachment have tested India's vigilance. Naval warships prowl the creeks, their decks bristling with surveillance tech, while commandos raid mock enemy positions under the cover of the night. This isn't just a drill. It's a calculated display of deterrence, a clear message etched in steel and fire. India's borders will be defended with unyielding resolve. Over the next few days, we'll put the gaze on exercise Trishul. While many would say that it is perhaps just another exercise, an annual ritual that is being carried out by the Indian Armed Forces, but the reality is this, ladies and gentlemen, that there is a lot more than what meets the eye at this point in time. Over the next couple of minutes, we are going to try and decouple some of the myths surrounding this particular exercise and whether at all it sends across the message that we really want our neighbors to get. All this and much more, but first take a look at this report.
Showcasing its military strength through a massive war exercise called Trishul on the Western Front. The Army, Air Force and Navy are taking part together in this joint operation, which is being called the country's largest tri-service drill. The exercise will continue till November 10th. During this time, all three forces are practicing attack and defense strategies in different areas at the same time. This is the biggest joint exercise since Operation Sindoor. In Trishul, the Army's para-commandos, the Air Force's Garud and the Navy's Marcos are performing special operations and showing their combat skills. The Army has also shared a video giving details about the exercise.
Where the land meets the sea and the sky echoes with the roar of strength, a new chapter of India's power begins at the dawn of the Mega Tri-Services Exercise 2025. On every inch of our soil stands the courage that guards a billion dreams. This is the strength of the Indian Army. In the boundless skies, where speed meets precision, soars the pride of the Indian Air Force. Across the deep blue, where silence meets strength, the Indian Navy. From the guardians of the sky, to the sentinels of the sea, and to the amphibians on the land, and the steel on the deserts. One flag, one force, one nation. The power of integration comes live in the Mega Tri-Services Exercise 2025. The skies will thunder, the seas will stand guard, the amphibians will rise strong. Coming soon, India's Tri-Service Exercise. Gear up for exciting updates as the action unfolds.
In exercise Trishul, Air Force fighter jets and helicopters are conducting missions up to an altitude of 28,000 feet. On the ground, the Army tanks, T-90 tanks, artillery and rocket systems have taken charge, while the Navy has strengthened the security of maritime areas and coastal borders. In the sandy dunes and creek areas of Kutch, the special forces of all three services, the Army's para-commandos, the Air Force's Garud and the Navy's Marcos commandos are jointly practicing offensive and defensive strategies. This is the first time that the commando forces of all three have been practicing in an integrated manner on such a large scale. A significant part of Trishul is focused near Gujarat's Kutch region and disputed Sir Creek border. Pakistan has attempted illegal construction and military infrastructure here in recent months. Through this exercise, India has sent a clear message that it is fully prepared to defend all its border at all cost. The Army practiced offensive and counter-offensive operations in desert areas, while the Air Force's Sukhoi 30, Mirage 2000 and Tejas fighter jets demonstrated the precision of airstrikes. The Navy's warship and aerial surveillance system showed preparedness to deal with attack situations in maritime security and coastal areas. According to military officials, the objective of such joint exercises is to further strengthen coordination and rapid response capabilities among the three services. It is also being ensured that a coordinated response can be given simultaneously in an emergency situation. Trishul is not just an exercise, but it is also a symbol of India's new war concept. Its goal is to create a technology-based and future-ready force that is capable of both deterring and winning wars in an integrated, multi-domain environment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we here at Republic TV take immense pride on our forces. While the entire media has put their entire spotlight on political activities, we believe that it is important that you get to know what our armed forces are really doing. And it's a challenging task that has been undertaken by our armed forces. In fact, the Tri-Services Exercise Trishul that is being coordinated by the Western Naval Command will be conducted across Rajasthan and Gujarat's creek and desert regions and the Northern Arabian Sea. Key formations would be taking part, including the Army Southern Command, Western Naval Command and the Southwestern Air Command. Now, what I'm going to show you right now is a video that gives you a sense of the exercise that was done last year also, but it'll give you a sense of how it's all come together and what's expected in the next few days. Well, in fact, on this Sunday, we have a fantastic panel that has been lined up for you. General S.L. Narasimhan is joining us on this broadcast. In the studio, Rear Admiral S. Mishra and Air Vice Marshal O.P. Tiwari. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on this broadcast and taking out the time on a Sunday. General Narasimhan, I want to start with you. Over the last few days, in fact, whenever I've spoken to some of the serving officers asking them about the significance of this military drill, they've said that, look here, it is a routine exercise. But the reason why I'm being extremely curious is because simultaneously multiple drills have been carried out across the country. This happens to be one of the largest military exercises that we are looking at post-Operation Sindoor, and not to forget the jointness aspect that happens to be the key focus of this area. I want to ask you, what do you really make of it, and what's the significance of exercise Trishul?
Thank you very much, Shavan, for getting me on your show. Firstly, as you said, it is a large-scale exercise. That is number one. We carry out many exercises. One thing is that it is a large-scale exercise. The second thing is, it is a tri-service joint exercise. That is more important these days because the way warfare is progressing, unless you have joint planning and joint execution, you will find yourself wanting in any of the future wars. In addition to that, there are other spectrum that have come into play, like, for example, cyber, space, electromagnetic spectrum, drones, counter-drone warfare. So all of them are actually evolving at this point in time. And it is only right that all the three services come together to carry out such exercises to ensure that when the time comes, we are ready to face any kind of situation that we will find ourselves in.
General Narasimhan, over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to perhaps, get into the granular of it, particularly the location and all of that. But let me get the opening remarks from all my panelists. Rear Admiral Mishra, thank you very much. You're debuting here on This is Exclusive on Republic TV. I want to ask you, the Navy happens to be the lead service here conducting the exercise. In your opinion, what's the big takeaway here? Keeping in mind that since Operation Sindoor, a very strong messaging that the Indian Navy has done about deterrence. And the message has already gone across. When the DGNO spoke during Operation Sindoor, I think so the message was crystal clear. What, according to you, are the big takeaways?
Well, there are quite a few things that one has to look at. Firstly, I would say that it's the integration of various elements of warfare that has been beautifully done, in the sense that now what you're doing is you're actually leveraging strengths of each of your components, and in the process, trying to take care of the weaknesses of each of the elements. So it's integrated planning and integrated operations. That's one part of it as far as projecting your force is concerned. Now, coming to deterrence that you spoke about. Deterrence are of various kinds. One is that you say, threatened being, that you are there. The other thing is that you walk the talk. Right. That you are actually able to tell them that it's not only that I'm saying that I'll do it, but I have the capability and the capacity to deliver when the time comes. So this exercise in particular, if you saw the amphibious operations that were going on, it's kind of signaling that Navy means business.
Right.
If it comes to it, we'll be there and we'll give you a hard knock.
Air Vice Marshal Tiwari, if I can also bring you in with regards to the Air Force component. Over the last few months, there have been a strong debate about the area of focus for the Indian Air Force, and particularly with regards to jointness. How do we really, move beyond working in silos? What do you really make of it, and particularly the role of the Indian Air Force right now? Because it's largely spoken about their role over the last few months post-Operation Sindoor.
The role of Air Force had definitely engaged all. See, patterns of war. Patterns of war, if we see that even Iran-Israel or Ukraine-Russia, they totally changed. New equipments have been developed, drones have been developed. Purpose of these exercises, just let me say, purpose of any exercise is to revalidate your standard operating procedures, revalidate your doctrines. keeping in the mind advancement of your technology, your armaments, your equipments, and also enemy's equipments, whatever the best knowledge you have. So we have to counter them. That all we practice during the exercises to see the bigger desired result. Now coming to your question direct. See Air Force. Now what happened ki jointness of all three services has already been there. Now, what happens if we are talking specifically about the theater command, theatrization? I'll slightly disagree with you. See, theaters, who have got theaters? America. Now, our theater is where? East Bangladesh and West. Now, number of aircrafts, number of squadrons we all know. You have reduced from 42 to 33. Now, our aim, Indian Air Force aims to keep all these aircrafts serviceable whenever there is a requirement and deliver with the thrust and the required output, whatever they want to get it. See, so now we cannot dedicate. Like what happens to a squadron? Like a squadron has got 20 aircrafts, out of which only say 10 are serviceable. So to make 12 serviceable, we have to take out some parts from 8 and make it serviceable. So now there is a cannibalization in the squadron itself. So Air Force is a unique. Now when we have a surplus funds, surplus squadrons, surplus aircrafts, we can think of this thing. But there is a center, coordination is definitely there, and there is no chance without it cannot achieve any result without a coordination between the three forces. So I hope I am making my point clear. Air Force is dedicated and Air Force is committed to deliver the results and the desired results. See, the advancement has been taking effect in the missiles, from the missiles, electronic warfare, electronic armor which are being created all over the Air Force and all over the boundary. It is a phenomenon. Here it is an interface between the users and the manufacturers which come into effect, and you are getting a desired result. See, absolute very, very clear. All the electronic warfare equipments and missiles used by Pakistan were Chinese manufactured. We had to penetrate that armor, and we were quite successful. So it was a clear indication as far as concerned electronic warfare is concerned. We are far ahead of anything. So these exercises are very forceful, very required, because any target to be achieved, we require coordination of all three services. So this validate, and what Rear Admiral was saying, it is important because you have to deliver. Like you want to achieve a target, you want to go and achieve something, it has to be manifold attack from all the directions. Somebody Navy will do it, some Air Force has got job. However, the role of air operations have changed. Now you don't have to give our aircraft to go inside and drop a bomb and destroy and come back. We have to stand off weapons to have applied well outside the limit of the enemy's missiles and other deterrent equipments, so that we don't lose anything and there is no attrition as such. So all these things are there, and the Air Force will continue and contribute. And the effect of time, those squadrons have changed. Now, number of squadrons has reduced. But at the same time, I tell you, Air Force is quite effective to control both the borders as and when required.
General Narasimhan, I want to basically touch upon something that has been quite sensitive, if I may say so, but I must ask this because this has been the raging debate over the last few months, particularly with regards to theatrization. You've already heard what the service chiefs have had to say. But post-Operation Sindoor, there is an emphasis that has been given once again on theatrization, and perhaps these exercises are also basically moving towards that direction. I want to get in your opinion on this pressing issue of theatrization.
See, AVM Tiwari mentioned the issue about the theatrization, but the point that we need to understand is this has been already been announced by very high officials in the government. So theatrization is something what we need to look at as bringing together all the resources under one particular commander, so that he can face the opposition, or he can face the kind of adversary that he is trying to encounter with. So this is something I think we need to be very clear about. I know Air Force has got a different view, that we all know that. But the fact of the matter remains that the order of the day is theatrization, and we need to go towards it. While I agree that there are some issues related to Air Force, the problem that we need to understand is that if we are going to wait for the strength to come up, I think we have already waited for 20 years for the Air Force strength to be picked up. So how long will you continue to be waiting to muster the strength before you go in for theatrization and jointness? And today, our adversaries, particularly the Western adversary as well as the Northern adversary, They all have gone into a kind of integrated kind of warfare, and Chinese are talking about the multi-domain integrated joint operations is what they talk about. So if you want to fight that kind of operation, that I think theatrization is the way to go. I mean, the services will have their own views, will have their own kind of opposition or reasons not to go for it. But I think that is the way to go in future. I think we need to start preparing ourselves mentally as well as with the kind of operation that we need to do. I think the integrated joint operations is what we need to achieve in the near future. Otherwise, we'll be found wanting, particularly when our adversaries are able to do that.
Rear Admiral, if I'm to ask you with regards to the concerns, that let's be honest about a few things, that there are certain concerns that we essentially have, particularly when it comes to jointness and to be able to achieve the multi-domain warfare challenges that are essentially emerging. In your opinion, Rear Admiral Mishra, how do you really look at these challenges? What are the grey zone concerns, if I may ask?
Well, at this point, because this is something which is very close to my heart, so I will neither wear a Navy's hat, nor an Army's hat, nor an Air Force hat. First thing first, the first thing is that we are one nation. And if they're one nation, there is one turf. So we need to get over this mindset of, trying to preserve my turf, his turf, or her turf. That's the first thing. Second thing is that the nature of warfare has changed from the erstwhile days of cavalry to whatever was Air Force and whatever was Navy, the Mahanian concepts, battle aerospace or Mackindale's theory. Everything has changed in the last few years. Now, if you really look at drones, something which is talked of very often in today's warfare, what would you make a drone as? It's an Air Force component, it's a Navy's component, it's an Army's component, because the fact remains it's flying. Right. So we need to look at integration of each of these services within themselves, whereas I started off that we leverage on our strengths and we mitigate the other sister services.
What about the shortcomings? Do you see that there are shortcomings that we have to put our focus on?
There are shortcomings in our present-day structure for sure, but we have to take an inclusive approach where nobody feels left out.
Right.
I mean, if you really look at why United Nations were a success up till a point in time and Treaty of Versailles did not succeed, was because after Treaty of Versailles, there were victors and there were people who were defeated. But when United Nations initially came in, everybody thought that we are equal participants in the New World Order.
Right.
And that's what kept Third World War away till a recent developments where now you have people saying that, well, it's my pie and it's my pie and it's a different subject altogether. So the issue is that whatever comes through, whatever solution the government of the day decides, it has to be a win-win situation for all. It can't be that one element feels left out and the other element feels that I won it.
Okay. Air Vice Marshal Tiwari, if I may ask you, because the debate is all about the air littoral too. Who really controls that space? When I spoke to a few within the army, they said that there is no debate about it, and you cannot have perhaps a distinction between who really controls that particular space, because there, in changing times, there is going to be overlapping. Would you agree that somewhere down the line we will have to make do with this kind of overlapping that takes place, and challenges will come up and we will have to find a joint solution to the...
Challenge will always come up. I'll just say tough is one, India. Win and win situation is one for India. We are all working to require the security of our territory or boundary. Okay? Right now, India's requirement is the western border and the northern border. We don't have a theaters like Pacific Command Theater, like America has got, they have got far to yet. Now what has happened, all the headquarters are together. There's integration. Nobody take action on its own. It's already existing. Just to make somebody a theater commander, look after everything, okay, it is good. In the larger form, when you have surplus forces, surplus aircraft, surplus equipments, you can have it. Okay, one is dedicated to you. Now, what sort of more coordination you require? What happened in the Sindoor? What was the more coordination required in 71? I'll get back to 71 also. See what is happening in Bangladesh. At the same time, Air Force took a task and destroyed a lot of important air bases and Karachi. So all this destruction was taking place a parallel movement because all the transport aircrafts were provided to airdrop or Jawans and officers in the Bangladesh. At the same time, it took on the western border. That brought the Pakistan on the back foot. Now, what happened? There's somebody dedicated and trained and who has been always in touch with the enemy's aircraft, missiles, how they're functioning. So, we are also working on the same line, how to avoid them and how to counter them and how to get one step ahead. So, just for sake of making a theater, turf, remember, turf, as I said, turf is only one. Turf is the country. Bharat Desh is the boundary. And where is the boundary of right now? It's only western border, northern border. We don't have to go to Australia. We don't have to go to western. Okay, in future will come. Accordingly, country will decide. But right now, at this moment, with the constraint of the resources and what is existing, it is very, very good and exceptional. What has happened? Now, what happens in Bangladesh? Now, what happens is now everybody in Delhi, communication network is so good. So we are on the same foot. Nobody objects to what decision you have taken. However, the decision is common. You sit down on the table. Achievement target is this. What is the role of army? What is the role of navy? What is the air force? This is an integration. It is already existing. Just to give a formal name. Formal name. Okay, it is beautiful, good. I cannot say that in the future we will have it. But right now we are in the correct shape and correct indications. And now who knows the best? Who knows the best? I cannot hand over a tank to the Air Force pilot. Or Air Force officer who can handle, he can handle anything. He cannot get to the Navy. But at the same time, when a discussion is on all three services and say objective is same, then Navy can say, I can do this thing, but I require so much from Air Force. Army can say, I can do this one, but you require Air Force from this. So all discussions are taking place. We should not get really worked up if this is not working place and so on. Remember, we always remember country.
Right. I think so. We seem to have lost the line with Air Vice Marshal Tiwari there. One final word that I want to give you, General Narasimhan, one with regards to your assessment of the current situation, particularly some of the statements that have been made in the last few months, Raksha Mantri with regards to Sir Creek, and immediately thereafter the Pakistanis scrambling and reaching Sir Creek and starting the operations. Now you have a naval warning that has been put out. I want a final assessment that you are making of the situation and the exercise happening in the western border itself, General Narasimhan.
The Sir Creek has always been an issue because there is an unsettled kind of a border out there, approximately about 90 to 100 kilometers of border. So this has always been an issue. If you take your mind back, there was a shooting down of a Pakistani plane some time back, about 10, 12 years back. So these things actually, this area has been vulnerable, and we have been actually trying to boost up our capabilities out there. So what we are now trying to do with Tri Shakti is the way the warfare is evolving, that we need to understand. Theatrization is an issue that, that will get resolved at some point in time. The issue that we need to understand is how the warfare is evolving and how we need to face it. So that is what is actually this Tri-Shakti is trying to achieve. So as I mentioned to you, it is not only land forces, air forces, or naval forces. It is also the other areas of other domains that are coming into play, like cyber, space, electromagnetic spectrum, drones, counter drones. These are all evolving. These need to be all the resources of the three services need to be marshaled and integrated in a manner that, we are able to face the kind of opposition that we face in the West. So while the statements have come up of what RM said and what the chief said, the Pakistani side also is building up their own defenses, etc. And they're also conducting an exercise between, I think, November 2nd and 5th. So the thing is that we need to be prepared at all times. All the three services have to work integrated manner. Therefore, this exercise. And so I think that is the way we need to see it. Theatrization will come. Whenever it comes, I'm sure whenever the powers that be takes the call, it will come. That we will wait and see. But the fact of the matter remains, all the three services have to be integrated. They have to fight together, and they have to face the opposition that we are going to have, both in the present domains and in the domains that are evolving. I think that is what we need to be looking.
Well, thank you very much, General Narasimhan, Air Vice Marshal Tiwari and Rear Admiral Mishra for joining us on this broadcast. It's always a pleasure having you all on Republic TV. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. Over the next few days, while there will be a lot of political activity taking place, of course, in Bihar, the focus will also be on the military exercises that are taking place along the western border. And it's here on Republic TV that we'll get to every possible details of the exercises that are going to take place.